Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Kenny Bob.
We rolling, Dave? Hi, my name is Kenny Bob, and I'm an alcoholic. And thank you for having me. It's a big honor to speak at this meeting. Over the years, I was asked to speak here several times, and I never could do it because I was always on the road and out of town, and then my career ended, so here I am. If you see me speaking at big meetings in LA, you know I'm out of work. I'm an alcoholic. I'm also a fully qualified cocaine pig and former exotic dancer. I normally don't say that, but I have to shout out to some of the exotic dancers here who have retired, so you know who you are. I don't miss the pole at all. I just... and also, thanks, David. It's nice to see you, man. David's heard my talk probably 9 times, and he's bored with it. And it's nice to see some old friends, too. My friend Jeff over here, your former secretary. We've been friends for almost 23 years, and we went to a lot of meetings when we were new together, a lot of musicians meetings, and we were very cool, and now we're just fucking old, you know. And actually, I'm only 24. I just did a lot of blow, so you know. And whenever I speak at conventions or meetings and whatever, I always I don't forget to welcome the tweakers here tonight. Because at a lot of AA meetings, they kind of fall through the cracks because they didn't drink enough, and at CA, they didn't smoke enough crack, and you know, in NA, they didn't do enough heroin. So if you're a tweaker, welcome, man. You're welcome here. I love tweakers. I sponsor 2, and I love them because I love a person that can thread a sewing machine while it's running. I'd like to welcome the newcomers here. I counted 18 newcomers, and I would say the overwhelming majority of the people in this room is wishing you well and hoping you're successful in whatever you want to do, staying here or going out and drinking. We all vote that you win, and sad thing about that is the only vote that counts is yours. So if you want to play with us, come on. If you don't, see ya. You know, I used to be my first 2 or 3 years of sobriety. I was saving souls everywhere. I had a robe and a staff and sandals, and I would bless people into sobriety, and then along about year 5, a lot of the guys I was sponsoring weren't behaving. They weren't doing it the way I did it, which it's the only way I knew how to do it. The only way I knew how to do it was to ask God to help me, and He did. I am convinced that God helped me, because from the first time I asked him to help me to this day, I haven't had a drink or used. I have had 2 sobrieties. I had my last drink of alcohol on January 11th, 1986. I haven't had a drink since. I did have a hardly worth mentioning, very tiny, minuscule, small, 18-month cocaine slip that ended in a seizure at my house, flopping around. And I wasn't flopping around from not drinking. I was flopping around from cocaine, and cocaine is a part of my story. I know, a lot of people, if you have problems with me talking about cocaine, get over it, because they didn't ask you to talk tonight. So when they ask you to talk, you can bitch at me. It'd be great. I spoke at a state convention in New Hampshire, and they said, confine your talk to alcohol. I said, isn't it alcoholism? No, we talk about alcohol. I said, well, then I have to cancel. I can't come there. I can't go there. Because I'll tell you, man, it's very difficult if you got a huge ego to come here and get clean and sober. And for you new people, let me put it very simply. I always do this. I've had 2 sobrieties. I've had 1 sobriety without God, and 1 sobriety with God. And the one without God was bad. And the one with God has been good. Now, if you're texting, let me repeat that for you. I know somebody's texting, I hate this fucking guy. No reason to, because I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's the rules. Wasn't always that way. But my first sobriety was bad because it included a relapse. It included pain, guilt, shame, just terrible pains, and an inability to come back and start over. Because I hadn't done any steps, so I didn't know anything about humility. All I had was pride and ego and arrogance. And my whole life I've been the star of the show, and I had no way that I could come back here and be new. Because I knew if I did, somebody would say, I have more time than you, which is exactly what they did. I want to give Rob a really big round of applause for a really good talk, man. Very nice. Jeff knew me when I had 47 days, and I would do my act. I would do comedy because I was afraid to let you know who I was and what I looked like inside. I don't have that problem anymore because I've done the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous in writing with a sponsor, and I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm happy, joyous, and free, just like it says. I did a thorough inventory, and I'm free. And I recommend those steps. I always say, the steps are very important to sobriety. The God is very important. The meetings are very important. Even big speaker meetings are very important too, which I used to consider entertainment when I was new. Speaker meetings are good. Sponsoring people is good. The dances are good. But that not drinking part fits right in there. I think we need to talk about drinking, I didn't almost die because my inner child was pissed. I died because I was in a fucking seizure from cocaine. And I grew up in Burbank. I'm a homegrown alcoholic. I went to school and like him, he went with the Jesuits. I went with the Sisters of Providence at St. Finbar in Burbank. Not even a famous saint. We used to rate it, if he got his day off, that's an A saint. And if he didn't, it's a B saint. I never knew what St. Finbar did. And nobody seemed to know because every time I'd ask, they'd hit me. And So I used to act out in grammar school. I'd like to say my friend Dan, who I sponsor, is here. He's heard me talk ad infinitum as well, one-on-one, and in this forum too. But I was, in school, I was always a show-off. I was always the guy who just before I went to the hospital would say something like, guys, watch this. This has never been done. One of those occasions happened in 5th grade. The kids were out having recess, and the nuns had beaten me on a regular basis. Sister Mary Attila Ayatollah would come out, and then, 18 pounds of wool, and Jesus, she could catch anywhere. And this nun beat me one time so hard. She beat me till she was out of breath. She just kept hitting me, and then she had to stop and go, oh. Keep your hands up. Oh, I got to catch my breath. Okay, let's get started again. And so I retaliated a little bit, sort of, kind of. One time at recess, all the kids were out there, and I had brought a can of Ronson lighter fluid to school and some matches, and it just seemed like a good idea to squirt all the clothes in the closet and light them. And so now I'm out on the playground, and the fire department's there, and how could this have happened? And the school almost burned down, and it burned the classroom pretty good, and all the clothes, and I was safe. They couldn't catch me. They didn't catch me, except for my ego, because my pals are going, I wonder who in the fuck could do that? And I'm sitting there thinking, if I tell, I'm going to get in really big trouble. I had to tell. I said the trouble was worth it. It's like seizures and problems with alcohol. Alcohol is killing you, but for that 3 minutes of fun you had, it's worth all that hangover. All that fun. I paid a hell of a price for all that fun I had. And I remember they threw me out of school, and this one nun that beat me so badly, when I went home, I couldn't even hold a fork. And my dad, who's a very enthusiastic drunk, would say, what the hell's wrong with your hands? Because I couldn't hold the fork. And he'd say, and I didn't want to rat out a nun at that time. So somewhere along the line I heard that being a stool pigeon or a tattletale was not cool. I'm a stool pigeon and a tattletale now, because I wouldn't do that shit. I'd tell, So I told them that I fell on the playground and my hands got scraped and I was hurt. But mothers know, moms know. And that night in my bed, my mom came and said, honey, what really happened? I said, Mom, you won't believe what happened. Sister Mary Kathleen beat me up really bad. Look at it. And I didn't do anything. And until you do a 4-step, that's the answer. You're not responsible for anything. It's always them. If only they would behave. And so I don't get on new guys and newcomers because they're arrogant and self-centered and not responsible for anything, because that's the way we are when we come in here. I mean, now after you do 6 or 7 4-steps, then I don't want to hear your shit after that. It's just a never-ending story after that. But she said, don't worry, honey. Like God does. God says, don't worry, Ken, it's going to be all right, All through my sobriety, when I was up against it, really up against it, and really tough stuff happening. And I remember my sponsor was, don't worry, God, you got to trust this God. And he goes, man, I'm sorry you don't have any money. I really like to relate, but I can't because I'm rich. I had a very tough sponsor. Jeff knew my sponsor, Paul, who would say to me things like, my day goes better when you're not in it. He also sent me a letter that said, Dear Kenny Bob, you drink, I'll kill you. Your loving sponsor, Paul. And then I said, what the hell does that mean? He goes, well, it means that you don't really know that I wouldn't do it. So anyway, I went to school the next day with my mother, and she beat the shit out of the nun. And she said, you'll never hit my kid again, you son of a bitch. And by the end of that day, I was a Protestant. I guess I was no longer in the Catholic Church or the school. I had a lot of fun growing up. I still have a lot of fun. I laugh a lot. I do it for a living. I have no trouble getting up here doing funny shit because it's what I do for a living. But what I have trouble doing sometimes is telling the truth. And this sobriety that I'm in right now has been uninterrupted by any relapse. Early on, I used to keep a quart of Jack Daniels in my house. Because if I relapse, I don't want to go to the store. I want to go to the cupboard. Yeah. What's the big dramatic thing going to the store? Somebody might see you, you know. I had my sponsor, just to give you an idea of my first sobriety, I was a smart ass. I always was. Here's a fun thing where I got in trouble. In Burbank, when I was in high school in the 50s, we used to cruise Magnolia Boulevard, really cool thing, and then go to Bob's and drive through the alley and go, there's the chicks. Don't look at them. You know, look at them. You know. And they're in the cars going, look at the guys you're coming. Don't look at them. You know, fucking stupid. You know, and the drive-ins and. I remember one girl said, I want to go all the way with you. And I went, holy shit, I don't even know all the way is. You know? I remember one girl said, I'm so hot. I can't go all the way, but I'll do anything but that. I went, well, that'll be just fine. Well, I know something you can do for me. Am I sharing too much about that? We're driving down Magnolia Boulevard, and we're drinking, of course, and we're all seniors in high school, and came up behind a cop in a motorcycle at the light. And I was driving, I leaned to my friends, and I said, in this pickup truck, and I said, guys, wouldn't it be cool if I just kind of eased up and bumped his bumper just a little, you know? They said, you can't do that. I said, what's this? You know? So I rolled up, and he came off that bike and came back to the window with the leather squeaking. They used to always scare the shit out of us. Right? They'd hold that leather and go. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, officer. We weren't paying attention. I just was stupid. I'm so sorry. I did that." He said, "Well, all right, but be careful." And he went back and got on his bike, and my friends are going, "You are so cool. You're the coolest guy on the planet." Now we're laughing, having fun about it, and we went about 6-7 blocks, and I wasn't paying attention at all, and I hit him again. He didn't squeak the leather that time. They called the cop cars, and we went to jail. But I drank a lot in junior high school. I drank a lot in college. Then I went in the service. I was with the Marine Corps for 4 years and really learned how to drink there. I'm not a hero. I fought the Battle of Oceanside. I fought the Battle of Oceanside from 1958 to 62, and my job was a baseball player. And when I wasn't playing baseball, I was a librarian. And in the summer, I was a lifeguard. So when I got out of the service, I was a beach lifeguard for 3 years. And I know it looks really funny to say that now. But if I was a lifeguard today, you probably wouldn't swim out quite as far. But I worked on the beaches at Santa Monica, on the beach here. I worked at Zuma Cove, and I quit that job because you had too many rescues. You're in the water too much. Fuck, I don't want to go in the water for $3.20 an hour, for God's sake. And it was really glamorous. You know, you pull somebody out and they puke on you. It's a lot of fun. But I learned how to drink at beach parties, and I learned how to play the guitar. I became a folk singer in the early 60s, singing the shit out of Kumbaya and 500 Miles and Rodeo. And then we took it into, I had a folk group in Catalina. I moved to Catalina where there's no fun at all. And started drinking Red Mountain wine, $1.49 a gallon. And my drinking accelerated. I had a group, our name of our group was the Red Mountain Boys. That tells you all you need to know about our band. But when I came back over, I met a girl in Catalina and fell in love with her, and she fell in love with me, and we were going to be together till the end of the summer, till I went back to college on a baseball scholarship, and I was on the back of the steamer, bye, I'll call you, don't worry. And she called me about a month later, and I proposed to her. I said, you're what? And my life changed very fast. But the good news is I got a great son, and I got grandson, and it's just great. And I got a great family. But when I came back over here and started playing in saloons and shitholes and playing music, I really did, man. I started out in piano bars with nobody sitting at the piano bar and everybody with their back to me watching TV, turning around going, shut up, I can't hear the news. I work with guys now that are just wimps with this shit. We gotta do 2 shows, 15 minutes. Shut up. Shit, I would bow for 15 minutes for Christ's sake. Well, things went on really well for me career-wise, and I ended up touring with a very successful brother act that Jeff knows. And unfortunately, the leader of that act got sober in 1984, and he said everybody in the tour has to be sober, except you, Kenny, because I know you can't stop. It didn't matter because I wasn't in his show. I was the opening act, so... Finally, that went on for a year, and then he said, you got to quit, or you're going to fire you. So he, on my own, without telling anybody, I quit for a month. I quit everything for a month. And Larry called me and said, you got to go to meetings now. You got to go to AA. I said, why? I've already quit forever, and I'll never drink again. A month, that's it. I'm done. And he sent me to Radford over in North Hollywood, and I had the attitude of somebody who's never done any steps. You all know somebody like that, working the shit out of step none. One of the things that I love is that I have guys that I work with, and I don't give advice. I just tell them what I did. You do whatever you want. And I said, if I were you, I'd go to a few more meetings. And they go, oh, I know. I think it's about time you do your 4-step. I know. I think it's about time maybe you start working with another guy. I know. I need to do that. I need to go to more meetings. And, maybe read the book now and then, I still read it. Yeah, I know. And then the same guys call me at 3 a.m. Kenny, you won't fucking believe it. I'm drunk. God damn it. And I go, I know. Of course you are. So here's my first meeting of AA. I walk in, I got a $10,000 Rolex on. You remember when I used to have that watch, Jeff? I had to sell that fucking thing. And I had about $800 in my pocket, and I walked in Radford Hall, not the Radford meeting on Radford, and I went to the half measures room when they have the coffee, and I walked up to the guy and I pulled out my money clip and I said, hey man, how much is a coffee? And he goes, it's $10. Because he knew I was new, because if you're new, the coffee's free. And if you think you have to pay for it, you are new. And he knew that, so I gave him $10, didn't even bat an eye. And then I went and sat down, and they're passing a basket like we did here, and of course I was late. And they're all putting $1 in. I thought, man, cheap sons of bitches. God, it's just $1. Shit. So I pulled out a 20 and I waved it. Remember, I I don't have a clue what humility is at this point in my life. So now I'm $30 into the meeting. I haven't heard anything, you know. And a guy on a podium like this, see, and God was in the mix, folks. Don't even think that I don't know that. God was in the mix with my life since I drew breath. God was in here when I first saw light. When I first saw breath, he was right in there. And when I was doing all this crazy shit, he was in there very quietly going, oh, good choice. That's a good one. Oh, there's my ride. It's okay, I'm sober. You don't have to stop. But I know God was in the mix, and God was in the mix that day when the guy pointed to me and said, would you like to share? And I know what sharing was. And it was a noon meeting. But I knew it was something about talking. And I had already met one guy I hated. I've been a member of AA for 10 minutes. Because I noticed behind the podium the serenity prayer was incorrect. Too many thes in it. It's not the Catholic version. We know the proper one, yes. And I chose to share that with my new friend sitting next to me. I leaned over and I said, you know, I think that serenity prayer is incorrect. It had been up there since 1947. And he didn't say anything, just looked forward and said, we don't give a shit what you think. So thank God I had my first resentment. And then this guy pointed to me and I stood up. And honest to God, folks, I mean, the guys who were there that day, they still laugh about it. I actually said, hi, I just spent $30 on your meeting, and I'm on tour with Willie Nelson, and I'm famous. And I have a Martin guitar that I really like, and I've done 2 live albums, and I have some in the car if you guys want to buy some out there. And I got about that far, and then the who are you birds got me. The who are you? 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 We've all heard them. They fly everywhere like fucking locusts, you know. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Okay, here comes the who are you locust. Who are you? I hated it then and I hate it now. Make newcomers say their name 8 times in one meeting. Shut up with that shit. Who are you? Who are you? And I said, what are they saying? They said, well, you got to say your name. And I said, I'm not going to tell you people my name. It's Alcoholics Anonymous. And then they were pissed off. And they were going, sit down then. You can't talk. Shut up. But what a nice treatment for a newcomer on his first meeting. And he said, sit down, shut up. Now this guy walks toward me, and he's probably coming to hug me and tell me how stupid I was. But I'm a bar fighter, and when a guy gets in close to me, because I was afraid. You heard it tonight in the birthdays. I was afraid. And when he got in range, I hit him right in the face. And the chairs were like this. It went over the chairs, crash, thrown out of my first meeting. I called Larry G that night, and he said, how did it go? And I went, well, this guy made me hit him. I didn't do anything. He said, well, go back there tomorrow. So I went there the next day, and another guy walked in and said, hey, man, you hit my friend Jim. He didn't even get Jim out before I hit him. And he goes over. Threw me out again. The first 6 meetings, I'm thrown out 4 times for fighting. So if you're defiant and you're angry, welcome. We love you here. We love your spirit. But I finally learned the lingo of AA, how to share, how to get in here. I said I was an alcoholic. I didn't believe it. I just wanted to talk. So I would come to the meetings and do my little show. And Jeff remembers, and they just tolerated me, man. They just said, oh, you're doing fine, man. You're doing fine. You might want to check some recovery now and then, but you're doing fine. You know? But I didn't drink for a year and a half. Didn't use anything for a year and a half. And I was asked to speak at a convention in Texas, in San Antonio. And when I found out I wasn't the main speaker, see, I have an ego because I hadn't done any steps. And when they said I was the warm-up speaker, I went, excuse me. Because what I heard, they said, you're going to warm up the main guy. And the main guy, I'm the main guy. You know, so I got so angry. And I wanted to talk about God because I heard a guy talk about God in my meetings. I didn't know anything about it, but he sounded so good and everybody loved him. So I just parrot what he said, and then they would love me. Because you can use anything you want out of town and call it your own, you know. There's several AA speakers have done that with me several times, haven't they, Dave? But we won't mention any names. God, I want to tell you who it is, but I'm not going to. So, God, I really do. So anyway, I called my drug dealer at the convention in San Antonio. He came over and brought me some cocaine. And I hadn't used or drank in a year and a half, and my sobriety went away like that. Went away like that. We hear so many people say long words on why you relapse. Why you relapse. Here's why we relapse. You hear so many reasons that you get a headache. Here it is, folks. Alcoholics relapse because alcoholics drink. That's why. And they drink because it seems like a good idea at the time. So I'm here to tell you, if you've been in and out of this program and you're shameful and you're guilty, I can guarantee you that shame and guilt will take you out again. Until you break that sobriety trophy, until I broke my sobriety trophy, I had no chance of any recovery. And I tell guys, you know, resentment is a regret for yourself. So if you have a resentment for yourself, it's really hard. So anyway, what happened to me was that I relapsed, and on the plane on the way home, I said, well, I'll start over Monday at Radford. And I went to the meeting, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for a year and a half. And I used cocaine every day. I led meetings. I spoke at meetings this size with cocaine in my pocket. I used cocaine in the bathrooms at conventions. And you don't even know if I'm sober now. The only one that knows I'm sober is me and God. That's it, for sure. So it all came to a crashing halt at a year and a half. At Super Bowl Sunday, 1989, I had a massive seizure, and I didn't even have the balls to call the paramedics. And because I knew one of them would come in an ambulance and it'd be with somebody I go to meetings with. And they would know, you know. So I did the only thing I had left. And if you don't hear anything I said tonight, you don't care, you don't like me, I'm okay with that. But listen to this. An arrogant, egotistical, self-centered alcoholic was rendered to a place where I said, God, please help me. Those three words are the core of my sobriety. They're the core of all the sobriety of every guy I sponsor. They're the core of every guy that I know who has... See, here's my priorities. There's my sobriety is first, last, always, most important. God second, me third. People say, well, you got to have God first. Really? Go down to Skid Row and ask a drunk if he has Jesus in his life or God. Yes, give him $10, say thank you very much. Would you like to be sober? Fuck no. So I don't have a God if I'm not sober. I have me. My God is the same size as me when I'm using. And so what happened for me was I went to my Monday night stag, and I couldn't get honest. I couldn't do it. I thought I'd go to Temecula and help some new guy. And so finally what I did was I grabbed my friend Billy. If you drew this guy, you wouldn't draw an angel. My friend Billy Record. If you were to draw an angel, you wouldn't draw him. But he was my angel. I said, Billy, please help me, just like I did with God. He said, what's up? And I said, I've been using for a year and a half. And he looked at me with those compassionate eyes and said, I have more time than you now. And he did. Because I had about 12 hours. But he took me to 3 meetings a day for 2 months. That's when I met my friend Jeff at the musicians meeting in Osh's garage. A lot of good meetings there. And I asked God to help me every morning. Then I got to meet my sponsor. Here's how I met him. I was 8 days sober. The effects of the cocaine seizure were gone, and the ego was back in place. And I was actually saying in meetings, guys, I'm a newcomer, but I'm not like these other newcomers, because I haven't drank in over 3 years. I just had a 1.5 year cocaine slip. I don't know how they put up with that shit, but I said it. That's when my sponsor walked up and said, "Hi, you got a sponsor?" And I went, "No." And he went, "Ooh, man, oh boy." And he walked away. The next day at the meeting, I did the same shit, and he walked up and said, "Hey, did you get a sponsor yet?" "No." Ooh, man. Oh. He did that for about 4 days. And I asked Billy, I said, "What is he bothering me for?" He said, "He wants a sponsor." "Oh, not that guy. Not that guy. I've heard him share, man. I don't like that guy. He's bossy, bitchy, control freak. I'll be dead before I ask that son of a bitch." He said, what would happen? That you'd be dead. And we'd be here, laughing. "You wouldn't laugh if I was dead, would you?" He said, "Well, yeah, we do after a while. You want to be remembered at AA? Keep going. Don't go for about 6 months. See how many people in your meeting remember you." Yeah, it's a traveling circus. It's a great circus, but it travels. So finally I said to Paul, I said, "Maybe I'll ask you to sponsor me." And he said, "Maybe I'll tell you to go fuck yourself." And he knew, and I knew that I had the perfect sponsor. And for 14 years of my life, he was my sponsor. And we traveled everywhere together. Whenever I could take a spouse to a gig, I would take Paul. He said the prayers at night. We'd pray on our underwear at night. I'd say the prayers in the morning in our underwear. Then we'd go to a meeting. Real lame stuff. And then I got my heart broken at 8 years of sobriety. I had never had a chick dump me. I'd never been dumped in my life. I didn't know how to do it. I'd heard so much about it, how painful it was. And I'm going, how fucking painful can it be? Just get another one. Out, in. It's like modular. Unplug, plug. Well, that's before I did any steps. I didn't know about love and stuff. Boy, she broke my heart. And I said, "Paul, you got to help me with this woman. She's broken my heart." And he goes, "Kenny, I got no advice for you, man. You better ask God to help you. You better write. I am writing about it. I'm asking God. It's not working." The truth was I wasn't willing to let her go. I wasn't willing to let it go. I was holding on, like Clancy says, hold that little piece of towel. So finally I said, "Paul, you got to help me, man. I'm dying." So we went to the park in North Hollywood. We went over by the where the homeless guys are, and I thought he was going to sit me on a bench and give me something wonderful to do. He walks over to the homeless guys, and he goes, "Hey, guys, I'm Paul. This is Kenny. I got $10 for the first drunk that'll talk to us." And this guy goes, "Hi, I'm John. I'm a drunk. For 20, I'm a fucking drug addict, too." Of course, all those homeless guys have been to... what does that mean? I'm done? Huh? I don't know. You're not going to ring that fucking cowbell, are you? Boy, you might not want to ring that on a new guy. Shit, that'd get me drunk in a heartbeat. Jesus. I got about 2 minutes. Please, I got to end this story. I've waited 20 years to speak here. So he says to this guy, he said, are you an alcoholic? He said, yes, I am. He said, well, Kenny here's an alcoholic too. He's having trouble with a relationship. And he needs some advice from an alcoholic. Can you help him? And this drunk with a bottle in a paper bag goes, you bet your ass I can help you, Kenny. If it's got tits or tires, you're going to have trouble with it. I love you for having me. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a little fun too. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.